You know that moment when you're running late, starving, and you swing through a drive-thru thinking you'll just grab a quick snack to tide you over? Maybe some fries, a pretzel, or one of those apple slices that seem like the healthy choice? And then, an hour later, you're still hungry, your energy has crashed, and you're wondering why that so-called snack made you feel worse instead of better. Here's what the fast food industry doesn't want you to know. Those convenient little snacks they're pushing, the ones marketed as quick bites or lighter options, they're often loaded with more sugar, sodium, and artificial ingredients than some of their full meals. We're talking about snacks with more calories than a burger, more sodium than your entire daily limit, and enough added sugar to make a candy bar blush. The worst part? The names are deliberately misleading. Words like baked, garden fresh, or lightly seasoned are carefully chosen to make you think you're making a smart choice when you're actually not. It's a marketing game, and your health is the stake. Well, today we're pulling back the curtain. We've dug through nutrition labels, talked to health experts, and compiled the ultimate list of the absolute worst fast food snacks that you should avoid at all costs. We're ranking 8 of the most popular options, from bad to absolutely disastrous. Plus, stick around until the end where we'll share some genuinely helpful tips on how to choose better snacks when you're in a pinch. Will your go-to guilty pleasure be on this list? I think you might be shocked by what we found. Let's get into it. Starting off our countdown at number 8, we have the Sonic Mozzarella Sticks. Now, mozzarella sticks are a staple at almost every casual dining restaurant in America. They're crispy, cheesy, and undeniably satisfying when you dip them in marinara sauce. Sonic positions these as a perfect snack or appetizer. The menu describes them as ooey gooey and melted to perfection. And look, when they're hot and fresh, with that cheese pull moment, they're pretty spectacular. That's the appeal. It's pure indulgence. But let's talk about what you're actually putting into your body. An order of 5 mozzarella sticks at Sonic contains approximately 440 calories, 23 grams of fat, 9 grams of saturated fat, and a staggering 1,470 milligrams of sodium. That's 1,470 milligrams. The American Heart Association recommends no more than 2,300 milligrams per day, and ideally, no more than 1,500. You're hitting nearly your entire daily limit with one snack order. But here's what's even more concerning. The breading on these mozzarella sticks contains enriched flour, which means refined carbs that spike your blood sugar, plus a cocktail of additives and preservatives to keep them shelf-stable and maintain that crispy coating even after sitting under a heat lamp. A registered dietitian broke it down in an interview saying, "When you eat something like this, your body experiences a triple threat. Your blood sugar spikes from the refined carbs, your heart has to deal with a massive sodium load, and your digestive system struggles to break down all that saturated fat." It's not a snack, it's a shock to your system. And customers are noticing. One person wrote, "I used to order these all the time until I started actually paying attention to how I felt afterward. Without fail, I'd be thirsty for hours and feel bloated and uncomfortable. Once I looked up the sodium content, it all made sense." Sonic mozzarella sticks land at number 8 because they represent everything wrong with fast food snacks. They're designed to taste amazing in the moment, but they're delivering dangerous levels of sodium wrapped in refined carbs and saturated fat. Your taste buds are happy for 5 minutes, but your body suffers for hours. But if you think that's bad, our number 7 spot is a snack that people actually think is healthy because it has vegetables in the name. Coming in at number 7, we have something that sounds like it should be good for you. It's the Arby's Loaded Curly Fries. Now, Arby's is famous for their curly fries. The seasoning is distinctive, the shape is fun, and they've been a menu staple for decades. The loaded version takes those fries and tops them with bacon and cheddar cheese sauce. Arby's marketing plays up the loaded angle. showing these fries piled high with toppings, making them look like a meal in themselves or a substantial snack to share. And there's something undeniably appealing about the combination of crispy, seasoned fries with salty bacon and gooey cheese. So what's the issue? Let's look at the damage. A medium order of loaded curly fries contains approximately 650 calories, 37 grams of fat, 11 grams of saturated fat, and about 1,680 milligrams of sodium. That's more calories and sodium than many of their sandwiches. But let's break down what's really happening here. The curly fries themselves are coated in a seasoned batter that contains enriched flour, salt, and a blend of spices. They're then deep fried. On top of that, you're adding processed bacon bits that are more salt and preservatives than actual bacon. And that cheese sauce, the kind that's engineered to stay gooey indefinitely. One nutrition researcher put it bluntly, this isn't food. This is a delivery system for sodium, saturated fat, and refined carbohydrates with minimal nutritional value. You're getting almost no fiber, very little protein, and virtually no vitamins or minerals that your body can actually use. And here's what people are experiencing in real life. A customer from Oregon shared their story online. I used to get these every Friday as my weekly treat. Then I started tracking my health metrics, and I noticed my blood pressure was creeping up. My doctor asked about my diet, and when I mentioned these fries, she actually pulled up the nutrition info right there in her office. She said, "You're eating 2/3 of your daily sodium allowance in one sitting. That has to stop." Arby's loaded curly fries earn the number 7 spot because they're a perfect example of how fast food chains take something that's already unhealthy and make it exponentially worse by loading it with additional processed ingredients. It's excess on top of excess, and your body is paying the price. But we're just getting started. Our number 6 spot is a snack that millions of people order, thinking they're making a lighter choice. But the reality is shocking. At number 6, we have something that sounds fresh and healthy. It's the Subway Veggie Delete Chips. Now, Subway has always marketed itself as the healthy fast food option. Eat fresh is their slogan. And when they introduced these veggie chips made from real vegetables, it seemed like they were doubling down on that promise. The packaging shows colorful vegetables. The chips come in varieties like beet, spinach, and tomato. And psychologically, when you see the word veggie on a snack, your brain files it under healthy choice. That's exactly what Subway is counting on. But here's where reality comes crashing down. A single serving bag of these veggie chips contains about 150 calories, 8 grams of fat, and approximately 200 milligrams of sodium. Now that might not sound terrible compared to some of the other items on our list. So why is it at number 6? Because these chips are fundamentally misleading. Yes, they're made from vegetable flour, but the first ingredient is actually potato starch, followed by vegetable oil and salt. The actual vegetable content, the beets, spinach, or tomatoes that give them their color and name, make up a tiny percentage of the chip. It's basically a regular potato chip with some vegetable powder added for color and marketing. A food industry insider explained the game. Companies know that consumers are trying to eat more vegetables, so they take a regular chip, add some vegetable powder, slap veggie on the label, and charge a premium. People feel good about their choice, but nutritionally, it's almost identical to regular chips. And customers are catching on. One person wrote, "I was buying these for my kids, thinking I was giving them vegetables. Then I actually read the ingredient list and felt like such a fool. These are just expensive potato chips with food coloring." But the deception goes deeper. Because people think these are healthy, they often eat more than one bag. Subway conveniently places them right at eye level near the register, and staff are trained to suggest them as a lighter alternative to cookies or regular chips. One former employee admitted, "We were told to push the veggie chips hard because the profit margin is huge, and customers feel less guilty buying them." Subway Veggie Delete chips land at number 6 because they represent one of the most insidious tricks in fast food marketing. They're not providing the nutritional benefits of vegetables, but they're being marketed that way. You're paying more for the illusion of health while consuming what's essentially a standard processed snack. It's deception wrapped in green packaging. But as bad as misleading veggie chips are, our next item at number 5 is actually dangerous for certain people, and most customers have no idea. We've officially entered the top 5 worst fast food snacks, and at number 5 we have something that seems innocent enough on the surface. It's the Dunkin' Donuts Hash Browns. Now these seem like a simple potato snack, so you might be wondering why they've earned such a high spot on our worst list. Dunkin' Donuts describes their hash browns as crispy on the outside, tender on the inside, and perfectly seasoned. They're positioned as the perfect accompaniment to your morning coffee, or as a quick snack any time of day. And let's be honest, when you're grabbing a coffee, adding a hash brown to your order feels like a reasonable choice. But here's where things get concerning. Dunkin's hash browns contain about 140 calories per piece, which seems reasonable. But the ingredient list is where alarm bells should be ringing. These hash browns contain not just potatoes and oil, but also modified food starch, dextrose, sodium acid pyrophosphate salt, and natural flavor. That natural flavor ingredient is particularly troublesome because it's a catch-all term that can include dozens of different additives. But the real problem, the reason these are ranked at number 5, is the allergen risk that Dunkin' doesn't adequately communicate. These hash browns are fried in the same oil as their donuts and other items that contain eggs, milk, soy, and wheat. For people with allergies, this is a minefield. And unlike some chains, Dunkin' doesn't have dedicated fryers for allergen-free items. A parent from New Jersey shared a terrifying experience. My daughter has a severe dairy allergy. I ordered her a hash brown, thinking it was just potatoes. Within 20 minutes, she was having a reaction. When I called to complain, they told me about the cross-contamination in the fryers. This should be clearly labeled on the menu, not buried in fine print on their website. And it's not just allergens. The oil at Dunkin' locations gets heavily used throughout the day, often cooking everything from donuts to hash browns to other fried items. By the afternoon, one employee revealed, "That oil is dark and has been cooking everything we sell. I wouldn't eat anything out of those fryers after 2 p.m. Plus, let's talk about portion size deception. These hash browns look small, and most people order 2 or 3 at a time. You think you're having a light snack, but suddenly you've consumed 400 plus calories and over 800 milligrams of sodium. Not to mention whatever compounds have formed in that overused oil." Dunkin' Donuts hash browns earn the number 5 spot because they're not just unhealthy, they're potentially dangerous for people with allergies, they're cooked in degraded oil, and they're marketed in a way that encourages overconsumption. It's a trifecta of problems disguised as a simple potato snack. If you're still watching and finding these details valuable, I'd really appreciate it if you'd leave the number 5 in the comments below just to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you'll consider subscribing and ringing that bell so you don't miss a thing. Your support is what allows us to keep creating helpful content to inform and inspire you. Now let's get back to it. At number 4, we're getting into territory that's genuinely shocking. This is the Chick-fil-A Chicken Strips Kids Meal. Now, before the Chick-fil-A fans come for me, hear me out. I'm not talking about their regular chicken strips. I'm specifically talking about the kids' meal version and how it's marketed versus what it actually delivers. Chick-fil-A has built an empire on quality and service. Parents trust them. When you order a kids' meal, you're thinking you're giving your child something reasonably healthy, especially compared to other fast food options. The chicken is supposed to be real white meat, and Chick-fil-A loudly advertises that they don't use antibiotics. The problem isn't the chicken itself, the problem is everything that surrounds it. The breading on these strips contains enriched flour, sugar, salt, monosodium glutamate, and multiple artificial flavors and colors, A 4-count kids meal with fries and a drink can contain upward of 700 calories, 28 grams of fat, and over 200 milligrams of sodium. But here's what's particularly troubling. Chick-fil-A actively markets these meals to children. The toys, the play areas, the kid-friendly branding, it's all designed to create lifelong customers. They're getting kids hooked on heavily salted, breaded, fried chicken at an age when taste preferences are being formed. A pediatrician weighed in on this issue. When children regularly consume foods this high in sodium and fat, they're developing a palate that craves these flavors. They're also setting themselves up for health issues down the line. A child eating 200 milligrams of sodium in one meal is concerning. That's more than half of the recommended daily intake for kids, and it's training their taste buds to expect that level of salt. Parents are starting to notice. One mother shared her realization, "I thought I was making a good choice by taking my kids to Chick-fil-A instead of McDonald's. Then I actually looked up the nutrition facts and was horrified. My 6-year-old was consuming more sodium in one meal than I eat in an entire day." We had to have a family conversation about why we weren't going there anymore. Chick-fil-A Chicken Strips Kids Meal lands at number 4 because it's targeting children with heavily processed, high-sodium food, while hiding behind a veneer of quality and wholesomeness. It's creating the next generation of customers who are addicted to these flavors, and that's a problem that extends far beyond one meal. But we're not done yet. Our top 3 spots are reserved for the absolute worst of the worst. At number 3, we have a snack that doctors have actually spoken out against. Welcome to the top 3. Taking the bronze medal for terrible fast food snacks, we have the Cinnabon Classic Roll. Now, I can already hear some of you saying, but Cinnabon is a dessert, not a snack. And you're right, it is a dessert. But Cinnabon is located in malls, airports, and rest stops, and millions of people grab one as a quick snack between activities. Let's talk about what Cinnabon wants you to focus on. The amazing aroma fills the entire food court. The gooey, cinnamon-covered dough. The mountain of cream cheese frosting on top. It's an experience, a treat, something special. The marketing emphasizes indulgence and comfort. Now let's talk about reality. A single classic Cinnabon roll contains 880 calories, 37 grams of fat, 17 grams of saturated fat, 59 grams of sugar, and 700 milligrams of sodium. That's more calories than a Big Mac. That's more sugar than 3 Snickers bars, and you're supposed to eat this as a snack. But the numbers alone don't capture how devastating this is to your body. When you consume 59 grams of sugar in one sitting, your blood glucose level spikes dramatically. Your pancreas goes into overdrive, producing insulin. You get that immediate sugar rush, that feeling of euphoria. But what comes next is brutal. An endocrinologist explained what happens. When you flood your system with this much sugar at once, you're essentially creating a metabolic emergency. Your body has to drop everything else it's doing to deal with this glucose bomb. Within 30 to 60 minutes, you'll experience a crash. You'll feel tired, irritable, and probably hungry again because your blood sugar has swung from too high to too low. And that's exactly what people experience. One person described it perfectly on a health forum. "I used to grab a Cinnabon whenever I flew out of the airport. Every single time, I'd feel amazing for about 20 minutes. Then I'd crash hard. I'd be exhausted on the plane, my head would hurt, and I'd feel jittery and awful. Once I stopped eating them, I realized they were basically ruining the first half of every trip." But there's more. That massive amount of saturated fat, 17 grams in one roll, is more than 3/4 of your recommended daily limit. Cardiologists have pointed out that regularly consuming foods this high in saturated fat significantly increases your risk of heart disease and stroke. Cinnabon Classic Roll lands at number 3 because it's a perfect storm of everything that's wrong with modern food. It's engineered to be as addictive as possible. It's marketed as a special treat when it's really a health hazard. and one single roll delivers a day's worth of sugar and nearly a full day's worth of saturated fat. It's not a snack. It's a metabolic disaster wrapped in frosting. But as catastrophic as Cinnabon is, our number 2 spot is something that people eat every single day thinking it's a good choice. This one breaks my heart. We've arrived at the runner-up position, and at number 2, we have something that's going to upset a lot of people. But the truth needs to be told. This is the Starbucks pumpkin bread. And before you stop watching, let me explain why this seemingly innocent seasonal treat is one of the worst fast food snacks you can choose. Starbucks has perfected the art of making their food look and feel like a premium, thoughtful choice. The pumpkin bread is wrapped nicely, it's moist and flavorful, and it feels like a cozy, autumnal treat that's just a little indulgence with your morning coffee. Here's what Starbucks wants you to believe. This is a baked good made with real pumpkin and warming spices. It's positioned as a seasonal specialty, something to savor. The branding suggests wholesome, homemade quality. Now let's look at what you're actually eating. One slice of Starbucks pumpkin bread contains 410 calories, 18 grams of fat, 3.5 grams of saturated fat, and a shocking 41 grams of sugar. That's 41 grams of sugar in what many people consider a reasonable breakfast or snack alongside their coffee. But here's where it gets worse. The ingredient list for this pumpkin bread reads like a chemistry experiment. Sugar is the first ingredient, not pumpkin. Then comes enriched wheat flour, eggs, soybean oil, and pumpkin puree finally shows up 5th on the list. After that, it's a parade of additives: baking powder, cinnamon, natural and artificial flavors, salt, baking soda, xanthan gum, and guar gum. A registered dietitian broke down the problem. When sugar is the primary ingredient in something that's supposed to be made from vegetables, you know you're in trouble. This isn't pumpkin bread. This is cake disguised as bread. The pumpkin is there for color and marketing, but nutritionally, you're eating sugar and refined flour. And here's the insidious part. People eat this as a breakfast item or a mid-morning snack, thinking they're being moderate. But 41 grams of sugar on an empty stomach or paired with coffee, which already affects your blood sugar, creates a massive spike, followed by an inevitable crash. You feel productive and energized for maybe 30 minutes. Then you hit a wall. One executive shared their story. "I was grabbing this pumpkin bread 3 times a week during fall. I loved it. But I started noticing I was exhausted by 11 a.m. every day, and I was craving more sugar constantly. My nutritionist took one look at my food diary and said, 'This bread is creating a roller coaster you can't win. Every time you eat it, you're setting yourself up to fail for the rest of the day.'" But the damage isn't just immediate. When you consume this much sugar regularly, you're training your palate to expect and crave that level of sweetness. Normal foods start to taste bland. You need more and more sugar to feel satisfied. It's a cycle that leads to weight gain, insulin resistance, and eventually, serious health conditions like type 2 diabetes. Starbucks pumpkin bread takes the number 2 spot because it represents the worst kind of food marketing. It's positioned as a wholesome, seasonal treat when it's actually a sugar bomb disguised as baked goods. It's creating energy crashes, sugar addiction, and metabolic problems while hiding behind autumn aesthetics and premium branding. Millions of people are eating this regularly, thinking they're making a reasonable choice, when they're actually sabotaging their health one slice at a time. But there's one snack that's even worse. One final item that represents everything wrong with fast food culture. Are you ready for number 1? And here we are. After ranking 7 terrible options, we've arrived at the absolute worst fast food snack you can choose. The one that combines deceptive marketing, dangerous ingredients, excessive calories, and zero nutritional value into one convenient package. Taking the number 1 spot as the worst fast food snack in America is the Auntie Anne's pretzel nuggets with cheese sauce. Before Auntie Anne's fans come for me, let me lay out the case. These pretzel nuggets are marketed as a snack, a little something to munch on while you shop or wait for your movie to start. They seem innocent, almost fun. Little bite-sized pieces of soft pretzel served with a warm cheese dipping sauce. What could be wrong with that? Everything. Let's start with the numbers. A regular order of pretzel nuggets without the cheese sauce contains 540 calories, 11 grams of fat, and an absolutely insane 1,730 milligrams of sodium. That's 1,730 milligrams in what's supposed to be a snack. That's more sodium than the American Heart Association recommends for an entire day. But you're not eating these without the cheese sauce. Nobody does. And that cheese sauce adds another 100 calories, 8 grams of fat, and 340 milligrams of sodium. So you're now at 640 calories and over 2,000 milligrams of sodium in a snack that you can finish in about 10 minutes. But the numbers are just the beginning of the nightmare. Let's talk about what's actually in these pretzels. The dough is made from enriched flour, which spikes your blood sugar, but it also contains sugar, salt, and a preservative called datum, which is used to improve dough stability. Then they're baked, and while still warm, they're rolled in butter or butter flavoring and coated with more salt. The cheese sauce is even worse. It's not real cheese. It's a processed cheese product that contains cheddar cheese along with water, whey, milk, protein concentrate, multiple emulsifiers, artificial colors including yellow 5 and yellow 6, and preservatives to keep it from separating. One food scientist described it as cheese-flavored glue that's engineered to stay liquid at temperatures that would cause real cheese to separate or burn. But here's what makes this the #1 worst snack. It's the perfect addictive storm. The refined carbs spike your blood sugar, giving you a quick rush. The fat from the butter and cheese sauce activates pleasure centers in your brain, and the massive amount of salt triggers cravings for more. You're biochemically compelled to finish the entire order, even though your body is screaming at you to stop. A neurologist who studies food addiction explained it this way: these pretzels are hitting every reward pathway in your brain simultaneously. The combination of refined carbs, fat, and salt in these proportions is actually more addictive than many drugs. Your brain releases dopamine, you feel good momentarily, and then you crash. And what does your brain want? More of what made it feel good. It's a vicious cycle. And people are suffering the consequences. One person shared their wake-up call. I used to get these every time I went to the mall, which was weekly. I started having serious blood pressure issues in my 30s. My doctor was concerned and asked me to track everything I ate for a month. When she saw how much sodium I was getting from these pretzels alone, she said, "You're doing more damage with this one snack than most people do in an entire day." I haven't had them since, and my blood pressure has improved significantly. And let's talk about the children's version. Auntie Anne's offers these as a kid's option. They're small, fun, and easy to eat. But you're giving a child potentially 500 milligrams of sodium in one sitting. Pediatric cardiologists have warned that high sodium intake in childhood sets the stage for hypertension and heart disease later in life. We're literally training children's bodies to crave and expect dangerous levels of salt. Auntie Anne's pretzel nuggets with cheese sauce takes the #1 spot as the absolute worst fast food snack because it's the complete package of everything wrong with modern food. It's biochemically engineered to be addictive. It delivers dangerous levels of sodium. It provides zero nutritional value while wreaking havoc on your blood sugar, blood pressure, and long-term health. And it's marketed as a casual snack, something harmless you can munch on without thinking. It's not harmless, it's harmful, and millions of people are eating these every week without realizing the damage they're doing to their bodies. So there you have it. We've gone from bad to absolutely catastrophic, ranking 8 of the worst fast food snacks in America. And the pattern is clear. These companies are more concerned with hitting your pleasure centers and emptying your wallet than protecting your health. But I promised you something at the beginning of this video. I said we'd talk about how to choose healthier snacks when you're in a pinch. So let's end with some actual helpful advice. So how to choose healthier fast food snacks. First, look for whole food options. If you're at a fast food restaurant and you see fruit, even if it's pre-cut, grab that over anything fried or processed. Yes, it might have preservatives, but it's still exponentially better than cheese sauce and fried dough. Second, check the sodium content before you order. Most chains now have nutrition information available online. If a snack has more than 500 milligrams of sodium, that's a red flag. Remember, you're going to eat other meals that day too. Third, avoid anything that lists sugar in the top 3 ingredients. That includes high fructose corn syrup, dextrose, maltodextrin, or any word ending in O's. These are all forms of sugar that will spike your blood glucose. Fourth, if you're choosing between fried and grilled, always go grilled. Many chains now offer baked chips instead of fried, or grilled chicken instead of fried. It's not perfect, but it's better. Fifth, portion control is everything. If you're going to indulge in something on this list, share it with someone. Your body doesn't need 2,000 milligrams of sodium in one sitting. And finally, read the ingredients list, not just the marketing. If something is called veggie chips or garden fresh, that doesn't mean it's healthy. Look at what's actually in it. Look, I get it. We all have busy lives. Sometimes fast food is the only option. But being informed is the first step to making better choices. You don't have to be perfect. You just